Today we are looking at what, in my opinion, is probably the most interesting gold making change Blizzard has ever done in WoW, and how you could potentially use this to make hundreds of millions of gold. Different gold makers specialise in different methods, such as farming or professions, but my expertise has always been making gold across many realms, and I have auctions across every EU and US server, and this has got me up to almost 1 billion gold. Patch notes have shown us that when patch 10.1.5 releases on the 11th of July, we are going to be able to freely trade items across realms. This means that many of the gold making methods that I use and I've talked about before on the channel that are really profitable suddenly have a much lower barrier to entry for all of you guys to make your millions as well. What we don't know at the moment is if we're going to be able to just mail these items across realms, or if it needs to be a direct trade, which is basically the difference between needing a second account or not to do this on your own. Why is this such a thing then? Basically, as I've talked about many times before, the prices of everything that are not on a region-wide auction house vary massively from realm to realm. And by massively, we are talking orders of magnitude. There are some things that are listed for 2k on one realm and 500k on another in some cases. This has always been a thing, and some gold makers have made huge profits from this by buying up things on the cheaper realms, paying for a server transfer with gold, selling the stuff where the prices are higher, and then finally moving that gold back to the original realm. You could make millions of gold profit every time you did this, even after accounting for the gold cost of the server transfers. You will now be able to do this process with barely any barriers and without having to pay the tax of the gold cost of the transfers as well. For example, we can see here on the US realms we have some captured June stock amounts selling for 70k. So we could buy these up and move them to the servers down here where they are listed for about 10 times that price, and that's just an easy $500,000 gold profit amount. But are things really going to be that simple? So how is all of this going to affect prices then? Because that's going to be the important thing. Now there's obviously quite a lot of speculation here, but we can have a quick look at it. I think we can conclusively say that some markets, like crafted transmog, are going to be pretty much dead on arrival with this patch. If we look at some of the pretty high tier crafted transmog like a Fell Steel Longblade, there are currently 2 or less of these on the auction house across around 75% of US servers, and that helps maintain the price as there is very little competition. Now every single crafter of this in the entire US region is going to be able to put one of these on pretty much every server to sell. There's going to be so much more competition, the profit margins are obviously going to fall here. Anything that can easily be mass produced and sold on every server is probably not going to have much of a future. Just a note here though, anything that is crafted that does have any sort of limited resource such as cooldowns, Bloods of Sargeras, etc., they shouldn't be affected as badly as anything that you can just go to the auction house, buy loads of mats and mass craft 100 of them and put them on all the servers. Now when it comes to things that have a limited supply, such as something that is a random drop, then things do get a little bit more interesting. Firstly, let's look at anything that's a relatively common drop. This is Primal Revenant's Frostblade, a Dragonflight transmog weapon. We can see here that we can buy these for around 500 gold on some servers, and then it can be sold for up to 50k on others. Seems like a super easy, low risk investment. Now there are currently around 350 of these on the auction house across the entire region. It is however likely that a lot of these will get moved to the highest price servers over time once the patch hits, where there are very few of these, from the lowest price servers where there is usually a lot more of them available. If we made a very approximate assumption that over time we will get roughly equal distribution, then there is over 80 servers, so that would mean we'd end up with around 4 of these on every auction house on every server. Most of the servers with the highest prices only have around 1 or 2 of these available on the auction house, so the prices on those highest price servers is definitely going to fall when you get this influx of new supply. There is however what I think is a much bigger factor, which I haven't really seen anyone else really talk about yet, that I think is going to significantly affect prices. On many servers I have loads of this sort of thing sat in bags, because either I already have one on the auction house, or the price is too low for me to bother listing it on that particular server. Many other players are going to be in similar situations. For example, say you've got 5 of these, but you can only list 1 on your main realm. Suddenly when patch 10.1.5 rolls out, you have an easy way that you can stock up these on the auction house elsewhere that could be worth a lot of gold. Like we said earlier, there are 350 of these on the auction house currently, but we could see that number significantly increase, and because of that I think this could well be the biggest factor in bringing prices down on fairly common items in the new patch. It may seem like an awesome investment paying 500 gold for a potential 50k gold return, but everyone else will be trying that, so competition will be fierce to get that sale, and it won't be staying at that price for very long at all. If we skip what may be an average drop and go straight to the other end of the scale and look how things might look if you have something that is rare. This is Construct shoulder pads on the US realm, and we currently have 45 of these listed on the auction house across the whole region. There is likely not going to be any lowering of prices here on the rare items that have such low availability. Even if the amount of items like this doubled on the region's auction house when people can start transferring spare stock etc, it just wouldn't barely affect the price. Even in that situation you would only have enough of these on the entire region to have about one on each server, so that is still zero competition for you and you can still carry on listing at whatever price you want. For rare items like this patch is amazing. It's barely going to affect your competition, but the freedom to move such high value items around is going to be amazing. For example, you can see here that this particular item hasn't been listed on Illidan, one of the US's biggest servers, for 5 weeks at this point, so that could be potentially a quicker, easier sale if you've been listing this on a lower population realm elsewhere. Investing now is an opportunity, but it is also a risky idea. As much as I think I'm not a million miles away from guessing what will actually happen, the WoW economy also never ceases to surprise me either. Even those 500 gold investments for a potential 50k return we talked about earlier I think could potentially struggle, but once the markets settle down, that's when things will really start getting interesting. One thing I can say 100% guarantee though is that a lot of people are going to be making some serious amounts of gold flipping across multiple realms with this change. The gameplay that this promotes is exactly how I have made the majority of my approximately 950 million gold, and it just got a hell of a lot easier. Almost everyone can get involved in this now if they want to. Welcome to the party guys, and I'll see you next time.